Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today we are continuing our discussion on CFA Level 2 Economics Chapter 1. So this is the third video. So in this video we are discussing about the factors that affect the bid offer spread quoted by a dealer. So the bid offer spread that a dealer quotes varies across the FX market. It is not constant. It is not constant. Now, what are the factors that affect the bid offer spread quoted by a dealer? So, actually, there are three major factors that affect the bid offer spread size. Three major factors that affect the bid offer spread size. So, the first factor is the bid offer spread quoted in the interbank market. So the bid offer spread in the interbank market affects the bid offer spread quoted by the dealer, obviously, because dealer wants to make a profit, right? So based on the interbank market only, dealer can provide a quote to its customers. So based on interbank market spread, bid offer spread quoted by dealer varies. The second is the size of the transaction. So, what is the value? What is the amount that client is transacting? Is it 1 million or 50 million or 100 million or 50,000? So, size of the transaction. And the third is dealer client relation. So, based on these three factors, the bid offer spread that the dealer quotes varies. So now let us start with the first factor. Let us understand the first factor in more detail. That is the bid offer spread in interbank market. So what are the factors that affect the bid offer spread in interbank market? So the major factor that affects the bid offer spread in interbank market is liquidity. So bid offer spread in interbank markets depends on the liquidity liquidity in the market. So now bid offer spread in interbank market depends on the liquidity. So what are the factors that affect the liquidity? Now liquidity is influenced by three major factors. So, what are those factors? What are the factors that affect liquidity in the market? So, the factors that affect liquidity in the market are, the first one is currency pair involved. The second factor is time of the day. And the third factor is market volatility. So, these are the factors that affect liquidity in the market. So, based on the liquidity, interbank market spread is affected. So, now we have to understand what are the factors that affect liquidity. So, these three factors, that is currency pair involved, time of the day, and market volatility, affects the liquidity in the market. So, now let us understand each of these factors that affect liquidity in detail. So, the first factor, that is the currency pair involved. Currency pair involved, how does it affect liquidity? So market participation is greater for some currency pairs compared to others. So this uh, So the currency pairs for which there is greater market participation are known as major currency pairs, and these major currency pairs usually have higher liquidity because there is higher market participation, and dealers can easily offset their risk position because of the higher market participation and higher liquidity. So, which are the major currency pairs? Major currency pairs are usually JPY USD, USD Euro, and USD GBP. So these are some of the major currency pair for which the liquidity is highest. So for other currency pairs for which market participation is comparatively lower, other currency pairs with lower market participation, participation, they usually have lower liquidity, which leads to a wider spread quoted by the dealer. That's why for currency pairs which have lower liquidity, that is lower market participation, dealers quote a higher spread, and the interbank market spread is also higher, like wider. As interbank market spread and dealers quote, the spread is usually wider. Now that's why some examples would be MX and CHF currency pairs, because these currency pairs trade comparatively lower compared to USD Euro, USD GBP. That's why they have a wider spread. Now, the second factor that is involved is time of the day. So, the time at which a currency pair trades also affects the interbank market spread. So, interbank markets are most liquid when the major FX trading centers are open. So, interbank markets are most liquid when the major FX trading centers are open. So, which are the major FX trading centers? The two of the largest FX trading center is London and New York. So, London and New York are the two largest FX trading centers. So, when London and New York are open, the FX market is the most liquid. So, when London and New York is open, that's when the FX markets are most liquid. So, there is a time, that is when London and New York both are open. Time when London and New York, London and New York are both open. That is the time when the markets are having highest liquidity in terms of currency transactions. So the time is in terms of New York time, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. New York time, or 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. London time. So this is the time during which highest liquidity. Both markets are open and they overlap. Both markets are open and they overlap. So this is the time when liquidity is the highest in the market. So after the London forex market closes, or after the London market closes, because FX trading is usually 24 hours. So after the London market closes, only uh, New York is only New York is there as the major trading hub. Major FX trading hub. That's why liquidity thins. Now liquidity is the lowest. Liquidity is the lowest when New York markets close, and Asian markets are yet to open. That is Singapore, Japan, Hong Kong. So when New York market closes and Asian markets are yet to open, that is the time when liquidity is the lowest. That's because only Australia is open during that time. Only Australia is open. So Singapore is one of the major trading hubs. So once New York closes and Singapore, Japan are yet to open, that's the time when the liquidity is lowest because only Australian market is open. Now the third factor that involves liquidity, third factor that affects liquidity is market volatility. So there is greater market volatility when there is looming uncertainty, which leads to wider spread. So, if there is greater market volatility, it means that there is looming uncertainty, which causes wider spread. So, market participants, in this case, when there is looming uncertainty, there is wider spread because market participants want to reduce their risk to reduce risk, hedge their positions, and in this case, for greater risk taken, they require higher profit, which leads to wider spread. That's why when there is market volatility, looming uncertainty, there is uh, greater risk due to which the spread is higher. So what are some of the market volatility events? Some of the market volatility events are geopolitical events, such as tariff, wars. Then there is market crashes during recession. Then major data releases, when some major data is about to be released, such as budget. So these factors influence liquidity and spread. These factors influence liquidity and spread. So these are the three factors, that is currency pair involved, time of the day, and market volatility. These are the three factors that affect liquidity in the market. So now we understood what are the factors that affect liquidity, and based on that, how interbank market bid offer spread is getting affected, along with dealers bid offer spread. Now the second factor that involves that affects the bid offer spread quoted by dealer is size of the transaction. So now the second factor is size of the transaction. Size of the transaction. So in this case, if a client goes to a dealer asking for a very large transaction, so in the case of a very large transaction such as 100 million euro, in such cases the dealers will quote a wider spread. Why? It is because dealer faces difficulty in offsetting difficulty in offsetting the FX risk due to the larger size of the transaction. So because of this huge size of the transaction, dealers face a difficulty in offsetting their risk at interbank market. That's why they quote a wider spread. Now, if the transaction is so compared to compared to a 1 million euro transaction, example, 1 million euro transaction has tighter spread quoted by dealer, and 50 million euro transaction would have a wider spread quoted. So this is an example. Now for very small transactions or retail transactions, that is retail transactions are usually the transactions referred to less than 1 million units of the base currency. So for Small transactions, that is less than 1 million units of base currency, that is usually termed as retail transaction. They also have a wider spread. That is because they use dealer's quote only, not the interbank market quote, because it uses dealer's quote and not interbank market quote. So in such transactions, clients can only in most cases, only dealers have access to the interbank market quote, right? Clients, normal clients, retail clients don't have access to interbank market. So in such cases, they can only go with the dealer's quote, and dealer's quote is usually wider compared to the interbank market quote. Now, the third factor that influences dealer uh, bid of a quote is dealer client relation. So if a dealer has a good client relation, dealer would give tighter spread, uh, tighter bid offer spread to the client, whereas and otherwise it would be the normal quote that dealer quotes. So for large businesses, for large or high net worth individuals, dealer quotes dealer would quote tighter spread. Why? It is because uh, it is because to win client over for repeat FX transaction business. And second, uh, the company in which the dealer works might also provide other services such as other business opportunity for the company, such as equity trading, derivatives trading. So, FX trading is only one part of the business, that the one part of the service that a company provides. Now, to win client over for other services such as equity trading, derivatives trading, the dealers might quote a tighter spread. Now, so the these are the factors that affect spread offered by the dealer. Now, there is one more factor. It's not very important because based on clients' credit risk, dealers might quote wider spread or tighter spread. So higher risk, wider spread, and lower risk, tighter spread. But it is not an important factor, not an important factor, like it doesn't affect much usually because of T+2 settlement. Because there is not much risk taken because it is not a longer time duration. It like FX would usually settle in T+2, like it has a T+2 settlement cycle. That's why the credit risk of the client is usually not a major factor that affects the spread quoted by the dealer. So with this, we have completed the first section of economics chapter 1. In the next video, we would be covering arbitrage opportunities. So now I would recommend that you would go through the curriculum and read this section and solve the problems given in the curriculum. That's all for today's video. Thank you.